This is VSiN's, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show, only on VSiN, the sports betting network.
We keep it rolling. Hour 3 of VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show. Always great to be joined in studio by the owner of the joint, Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of Circa and Circa Sports. Of course, Rich Gannon, 2002 NFL MVP. We've got the London game going on. All Bears all the time, 35-10 right now, the Bears with the lead. And Rich, I was joking with Derek because I pulled up the Circa Million selections, the consensus plays, the top 5 plays, and one of the most popular plays was the Jaguars, and I was one of those, Rich. And the good news is we got CLV, Derek. That's all that matters. I have closing line value on a bet that's going to be absolutely in the toilet there as the Bears beat the Jaguars. From a business standpoint, do you guys like the London games? Do you see an uptick in early boozing?
I would tell you, like, the London games are generally always the least wagered game of the day, but I would tell you, I think maybe what happens is it focuses a little bit more energy on the rest of the games of the day. So I like the 6:30 a.m. Pacific time games. I think it's good for us. It's good for the East Coast. I mean, oh yeah. The East Coast, at least you get to go to church in the morning and be able to come back. But no, I like the London games.
Derek, am I missing something? A little birdie told me that there was a lot of action coming in this morning on Jacksonville. What am I missing when I study the Jaguars on tape?
Well, I don't know, because Rich, your eyes are better than all of ours. I mean, you see things the way none of us lay people do. But I can tell you, the money came in like crazy on Jacksonville.
Wow.
You know, I'm the one that should be asking you the question, like, what? Because we couldn't figure this out over the last couple of days, but it's been all Jacksonville money.
Yeah, I mean, the line flipped. It was, Jaguars were a dog, then they closed. I walked in here, I'm like, wow, they closed a 2-point favorite, and as we look down, 35-10, probably a pretty good result for you guys to start the day off.
Yeah, now I will say there are 8 minutes left in this fourth quarter. Do you think we're going to have one of these crazy comebacks here? Maybe somebody do something.
Well, what was it? Miami a couple weeks ago, they were down 35-10 and won 39-38 against. Now that's on the college front. All right. As for line moves, it kind of needs. I'm curious. Commanders Ravens. Right now, I believe you guys are sitting at 7. And this is such a fascinating game to me, Derek, because the Commanders, as crazy as it sounds, are now becoming a popular team, right? With Jaden Daniels, I believe he's leading the league in jersey sales, whatever it may be. So we were talking to Michael Lombardi earlier, and he and I agreed this is kind of a fishy line where it feels like it's too easy to just grab the dog here. So what kind of action have you been seeing on Commanders Ravens?
No question. That's going to be the top wagered game early on. The Commanders have now become the I guess I would say the trendy team or the sexy team.
4-1 ATS, 4 straight covers.
Yeah, so we've seen a good amount of Commanders money. We are currently at 7, but what I find interesting is yesterday the total bumped up to 52, and it's come down pretty hard today. We're at 51 is what we're hanging at right now. But it's been all Commanders money.
Only 51 in the market too, which is kind of telling you something.
Really?
Yeah, that's at least my board. Only 51 and a halves, but 51. You guys are the only 51 in the market on that one.
Interesting.
All right, Derek. I'm infatuated with this Circa Survivor contest. I have to ask you every week. I know that. First of all, I want to know how many we have left, and I know that the top selection the last 4 or 5 weeks has been knocked out. Just your thoughts on who's remaining in this contest.
Yeah, Rich, out of 14.2 million, we're down to 221 Circa Survivors right now. Crazy. And what I find fascinating is the number one selection this week is the Philadelphia Eagles with 110. So effectively half of the pool has Philadelphia. And it's not a double-digit favorite. I mean, they're an 8.5-point favorite, but half the pool has Philadelphia. So I'm going to be rooting on Philadelphia pretty hard today. The couple things of note here. There is one particular individual that's chilling out right now that took San Francisco on Thursday, and that individual entry is rooting for carnage right now. But there's one in the house, but 221 went into this weekend, and that's kind of where we stand at this point in time.
And good job. Go ahead. Go ahead, Rich.
How many multiple entries are remaining? I'm curious.
There is one individual with 6.
Wow.
One individual.
Geez.
But out of the 221, there are 193 single entries left, which is actually uniquely fascinating as well. It's not all the story about the groups or the teams that have 5 and 10 entries. There's 193 individual contestants at Circa Survivor that are down to 1 entry.
Wow, 193 of the 221. But that is wild, though, that the one gentleman has 6 out there. Do we know who he selected?
You know what? I do not know that out there. I think we could find.
I'll look through it. I'll find it out there. By the way, sitting here on the desk, let's take a look at this. Look at this beautiful Detroit Lion hat here. Big game for your boys here tonight. So what's this hat we got here?
Well, this is the Stand Up for Cancer hat that the NFL is doing for every team.
Got a little plaid in it.
I love it. Nicole snagged this one off of online here real quick. Got this in, and I'm in the middle of transitioning from the Tigers after my brutal day yesterday. Back to the Lions. Let's go.
Yeah, no, that's the life of a baseball fan, right? Only one franchise gets to celebrate a championship, and that was pretty brutal yesterday. But let's get to the Detroit and Dallas game. What are you guys seeing for action-wise, and who do you think ultimately, as a lot will lead into this high-profile game? It's not prime time, but it's in that 4 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Pacific window. That's definitely the key game in that window, Derek. So what have you guys seen on action on that one?
Yeah, it's going to be the number one wagered game of the day, in my opinion. I think this is actually going to be a game that'll be wagered more than the Sunday night game, which is kind of a rare thing. We opened the lines at 3, went to 3 minus 20. There's a decent chance we go to a 3.5. I hope that doesn't happen because that leaves us vulnerable to get sided. But it's been all Lions money here, and I actually wanted to ask Rich, where do you think the Lions stand now coming off this bye week? They had this bye week, and now everyone seems to be healthy. Where everyone's on the lines this week. What are your thoughts on that, Rich?
Well, I think getting Frank Ragnow back is a big story. No one's even talking about it. Their Pro Bowl center. This is one of the better offensive lines in football, as you know, Derek. And I just think they're one of the more physical football teams, and I love that about this group. And I think they're going to run the ball today. I mean, we talk a lot about these prop bets on Jared Goff. I love the fact that Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. Remember, the Cowboys, although they've cleaned up a little bit here the last week and a half, they've struggled to stop the run. Just look what the Saints did to them. Look what the Ravens did to them. I think the Lions are going to run the football today, and I think that's going to be a big part of the story. I like the Lions on the road. Cowboys historically have been pretty good at home, although not so much this season. But the physicality of this football team has gotten my attention. You should like that, Dirk. You think about the Motor City, the backbone of our country in terms of toughness and dedication and passion and intensity. Everything about that is what Dan Campbell has brought to the Lions.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how much we've been talking about the Lions offensive line versus the Cowboys defensive line. And I think a lot of that has to do with why we've seen so much money on the Cowboys. By the way, Rich, I'm going to use the backbone of our country.
There it is.
Backbone of our country.
You love it?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I love it. Hey, let me ask you this, because I'm always interested that the biggest game lines or totals that have moved this week. A lot of injuries are always a big part of it, Derek. But we have 3 quarterbacks that are making their starts this week. You look at Spencer Rattler in New Orleans. You look at Aiden O'Connell with the Raiders, and of course Drake May with the Patriots. Where have you seen the most movement here the last 48 hours?
The most movement we've seen a good amount of Chargers money coming in over the Broncos. We have seen a tremendous amount of money come in on the Steelers. Now, I don't know if that's a national thing or this happens to be the Steelers are here in Vegas, because it feels like It feels like half of Pittsburgh's in
Las
Vegas
towels.
right now.
A lot of those towels are walking around town here today.
I think the issue with the Raiders receivers and the quarterback change, there's no one that's buying into the Raiders right now. So we've seen a ton of Steeler money. It's been Steeler money, Charger money, and interestingly, the Texans-Patriots game, we've seen a lot of money come in on the over.
Really?
On that total. Yes.
Right now, you guys are hanging a 38.5. Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of Circa and Circa Sports. I want to circle back real quickly just from a, running a book standpoint. Detroit, Dallas right now, you guys have this game line, Detroit -3, -125, meaning if you bet the Cowboys +3, get it at plus money. Why do that as opposed to going to 3.5, which a couple other books in town have done?
Well, I mean, 3 is a special number in football, right?
Yep.
So I think we're doing everything we possibly can to make sure we don't get cited. I mean, it's a very dangerous number for a book to go from 3 to 3.5. We will rarely go to -125. It would be it's a very special circumstance. So I think based upon the volume today, that's kind of where they're trying to build the base.
Yeah, and as we see right there, -125. So you can get some plus money if you think the Dallas Cowboys are going to cover against the Detroit Lions. So it is going to be a great day as always, and hopefully the Philadelphia Eagles, we don't need more carnage. Hopefully the Eagles take care of business here.
We need these 221 Circa Survivors to last.
That's Derek Stevens, owner, CEO of Circa and Circa Sports. That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. A look at the Circa Sportsbook starting to fill up as we are less than an hour away from the start of those 1 o'clock Eastern games.
Time. There's nothing more valuable. It's what drives everyone to make the most of every moment. We celebrate living large in the now. In a city where time disappears, we create experiences that electrify the soul and memories that will last forever. We go big, we go all night, and here, everyone is invited. So get loose and get loud.
This is Circa. You'll have the time of your life.
Coming up Monday on Follow the Money, a huge day in sports. We recap a wild weekend in the NFL and college. Bills, Jets, Monday Night Football. Yankees, Mets, both in action. Follow the Money weekdays, 4 to 7 Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Want to see who at VSiN is on a hot streak? Go to VSiN.com/picks to see all the selections and weekly leaderboard of VSiN hosts, writers, and guests. Become a VSiN Pro subscriber and get every pick sent to your inbox daily. Just head to VSiN.com/pro.
So, Paulie, have you had a chance to read the VSiN Daily yet?
Yeah, came in at 3 a.m. What's Bill doing up that late?
Well, rumor has it, it starts off with a 12-hour meditation session.
Then he just pours himself over film and live TV, really focusing and taking it all in. Fills in with the biggest insiders, talking trade secrets, strategies, the whole nine, absorbing the info.
And then and only then can the writing process begin.
In Las Vegas, Bill's Late Night becomes your early morning. Wake up to the very latest betting insights in your inbox with the VSiN Daily. Sign up for free at vsin.com/newsletter.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the sports betting network.
I know everyone likes a good deal, and we've got a great deal over at vsin.com/subscribe. If you use the promo code TAILGATE, you could save on a yearly subscription, $199, less than $20 a month. Get our daily best bets, our exclusive betting splits, all of our preview guides. The NBA guide is out right now. I know JVT and Zachary Cohen and Kelly Bidlin were working hard on that. So head over to vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code TAILGATE. You get yourself a yearly subscription for less than $200. Tim Murray here in Las Vegas. Rich Gannon joining us as always, the 2002 NFL MVP. Over in London, Rich, 35-16, the Chicago Bears are cruising to a victory there. They will cover this spread. It was funny talking to Derek there, and you mentioned it, that the bettors were having themselves, it was like they had Biff's Almanac. They knew the outcome, and not the case. And the sharp guys, I guess, were on the wrong side of this one because Chicago is going to win and cover. The total has gone over. This went off at 44.5, so a pretty easy over and an easy cover for all of those who back the Chicago Bears. And, you know, it's funny, Rich, when we look at this Bears team, it feels like not many people know that they're about to be 4-2, right? I mean, you think about the NFC landscape and how it's playing out. Do you believe in this Bears team now 4-2, and their two losses are on the road at Houston and then on the road at Indianapolis? They're 3-0 at home. They're going to win here against the Jacksonville Jaguars, and then they'll have a bye week, and then they head to Washington for the showdown between the top two picks in the NFL draft.
Yeah, they got to be pleased with their start, especially with their young quarterback. I think they brought Caleb Williams along the right way. I don't want to overreact because I don't feel really strongly about this Jacksonville defense. I think this is more about Jacksonville and the issues that they're having. Tim, we saw the Jets fire their coach on the way home from London last week. If the Jags stay in London this week and it doesn't go well, I mean, Doug Peterson may be the next coach out in Jacksonville. I mean, they have not played well. They've underperformed on both sides of the ball. They've got this quarterback that they paid a lot of money to that is struggling right now. And I just, this is not a very competitive team right now in Jacksonville.
You know, we talked about it earlier in the show, and we'll focus more on the games that are about to kick off here in a moment. But I'm curious, you know, when you look at the Jets' decision to fire Robert Saleh and now Doug Peterson, if, you know, some markets out there had those odds out, who would be the first coach fired, it was Doug Peterson. They're about to fall to 1-5. This is a team that 2 years ago was in the postseason and, you know, had an opportunity to do some damage there in the playoffs. Would it be best for this organization to part ways with Doug Peterson, in your opinion?
Well, it's hard when you're not in the building every day. But look, remember how poorly this team finished in the second half of the last season? I mean, they basically had the AFC South division wrapped up after the first 8 weeks of the season, and they let it get away from them. And then I think you look at the fact that Doug Peterson was brought in to kind of get Trevor Lawrence playing better, and he got off to a decent start last year, but really struggled down the stretch. The turnovers continue to be an issue for him, the decision-making, the accuracy. And I just think if you're the owner, you got to look at, hey, you know, we've got a lot of money tied up in this guy, and it's simply not working out. And that's typically when you see owners make a head coaching change.
Yeah, so the Jaguars will stay over in London. They will play the New England Patriots next week. All right, let's keep rolling here. And we mentioned Caleb Williams, and we've seen the odds shrink for Offensive Rookie of the Year. The man that is the favorite is Jaden Daniels. And I know Brent Musburger disagrees, but I think this is the game of the day. Ravens hosting the Washington Commanders. And let me just say this real quickly. It's not a rivalry, folks. These teams have played only 7 times in history. They're very close in proximity, but it's not a rivalry unless you're living in Howard County, Maryland, and your neighbor is a Baltimore Ravens fan and you're a Washington Commander fan. But I digress from that, and I just look at this game. What has impressed you, Rich, about Washington and what you've seen so far from the Commanders as they head to Baltimore today?
Well, if you don't think the quarterback position is important in our game, you're sadly mistaken. Just look at what Jaden Daniels has done. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They've already matched their win total from a season ago. They have the #1 scoring offense. They're scoring over 31 points a game. They're second in rushing. And you look at his numbers, he's completing 77% of his passes. He's been terrific throwing the ball down the field. He's got 300 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. So he's got some of that Lamar Jackson in his DNA, his ability to kind of create and manufacture some offense. They've scored on almost 70% of their offensive possessions, and they have an NFL high 158 no huddle snaps. So I love the fact that they can go tempo. Defensively, that's the issue I have right now with Washington. They're 31st in yards per rush. They're going up against a Baltimore offense that's first in yards per rush at over 6.1 yards per carry. So you have the number one rushing offense and the number one run defense in Baltimore. That's a pretty good combination for the Ravens. It's a big reason why they're off to a good start. They've outrushed their opponents by over 100 yards a game. Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry have combined for almost 1,000 rushing yards. Baltimore has the number one run defense, but they're vulnerable against the pass. They're 31st in pass defense. And no one's giving up more big plays right now in the passing game than this Ravens secondary. Lamar Jackson, though, Tim, I pointed this out to you earlier, 21-1 versus the NFC. You don't see this guy a lot. Very difficult quarterback to prepare for.
Yeah, good luck to Joe Witt Jr. and Dan Quinn to try to slow down Lamar Jackson today. The prop I played in this game, I played over Jaden Daniels' passing yards. And the reason I did that, Rich, is I think that there's going to be a pretty concerted effort. Now, it's easier said than done by Baltimore to say, Jaden, you got to beat us through the air and try to avoid him running the ball. I think his prop is around 48, 49 yards on the ground. But my expectation, Rich, is that Baltimore will take an early lead. I think they'll have success against this Washington defense. So I think Jaden's going to be forced to utilize his arm a little bit more, which could lead to potential turnovers. So we'll see. I think this is no doubt the biggest test for Jaden Daniels this year. What's interesting to note from a market standpoint, Rich, and Derek just alluded to it, despite the fact that both of these offenses playing as well as they have been, and both have been 4-1 to the over, you're actually seeing a little bit of under money starting to come into the market here. Circa, a couple other shops are now at 51. So it's worth noting there that money is actually coming in on the under in this one. But I can't wait to watch this game, Rich. This is going to be a really, really fun game to watch. Ravens and Commanders at M&T Bank Stadium. Bucs and Saints, this is a best bet of yours as you've got Spencer Rattler making his debut as a starter. He gets the nod here for the New Orleans Saints at home against the Bucs. He's catching 3.5.
Yeah, no Derek Carr. We saw Jake Hayner in relief last week. That wasn't good. So now they go to the rookie Spencer Rattler, the 5th-round pick out of South Carolina. Here's what I can't figure out with the Saints. They scored 91 points the first 2 weeks of the season, Tim. 49 combined points in the last 3 games. So, they've lost 3 straight after starting 2-0. They're not playing as well on either side of the ball, offensively and defensively. I think that's a real challenge. I look at this offensive line. They've got injuries to center and right guard position. I think Alvin Kamara needs to have a big day in order for the Saints to have a chance against that Bucs defense. Love what I'm seeing from Baker Mayfield. He's been terrific. 11 passing touchdowns, the most in the NFL this season. He's top 5 in completion percentage, touchdown to interception ratio, passer rating. He's playing well. And Mike Evans, he's one touchdown reception away from 100. He would be just the 11th player in NFL history. Yours truly threw to 3 of them, Rice, Brown, and Carter. So that is a pretty elite group. I think Bucs dealing with some injuries on defense. They allowed 550 yards of offense to the Falcons. May not be a horrible situation for Spencer Rattler, but I really like the Bucs on the road.
It's interesting. You got to ask yourself, how much is a quarterback worth to the point spread? That's the question we always ask. What's the drop-off from the starter to the backup, or in this case, what was the third string? The look-ahead line in this game, Rich, when we thought Derek Carr would be playing, was New Orleans minus 2.5, and now it's New Orleans plus 3.5. So a 6-point swing based off of Derek Carr to Spencer Rattler. So I know a lot of pro bettors might be curious to look at the overreaction there in that spot. So we will see. What do you expect from Spencer Rattler? What have you seen on tape from him, at least from his South Carolina days?
Well, he's got a lot of experience, right? He basically was a 4-year starter, played 3 years at Oklahoma, and, of course, the last 2 at South Carolina. And he's got talent. He's not very big, though, Tim. He's a 6'1" quarterback. He's about 210 pounds. Has a little bit of a difficult time pushing the ball down the field, but he's got a good supporting cast. He's got to find a way to get the ball to Chris Olave and those receivers and Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara can be a quarterback's best friend. He's got 94 receptions the most in the NFL for a running back going back to the start of last season. So, when in doubt, find Alvin Kamara in the passing game. And the other good thing is that the Saints have only given up 5 sacks this season. But where the drop-off is obviously with the experience that you lose with Derek Carr.
By the way, circling back real quickly on an injury front for the Baltimore Ravens, Ronnie Stanley, their left tackle, cleared to go. So he will be, as reports say, starting at left tackle today for the Baltimore Ravens there on the injury side. All right, we'll keep you updated on all of the injuries. Once again, Indianapolis going with Joe Flacco at quarterback as Anthony Richardson not 100% just yet. That's Rich Gannon. He's always 100% ready to rock and roll. We only got 30 minutes left of the show. We'll keep rolling through all of the games and get you to know what you need heading into Week 6 of the NFL season.
And they're off.
Sports betting game with VSiN's exclusive betting splits. Stay ahead with real-time market trends and track bet percentages on any matchup, then uncover the edge by comparing them to the amount of bets placed to find out where the sharp money is headed. Upgrade to VSiN Pro to access betting splits, live odds, line moves, power ratings, and in-depth game analysis. Go to VSiN.com/pro to join VSiN, the sports betting network.
This is VSiN, the sports betting network.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Rich Gannon's favorite play just was unveiled over there in London. The quarterback kneel down. It is all over. The Chicago Bears, a 35-16 victory. Is that true, Rich, or would you rather like 4 verts as your favorite play?
That's called victory formation. That's the best play in football, Tim, no question about it. But you just get the sense as you watch that game, we've got 2 teams heading in opposite directions.
You know, it's funny because the Chicago Bears, you had Hard Knocks and a lot of fanfare with Caleb Williams coming in, and they spend, a top 10 pick on a wide receiver. And I tend to find myself trying to fade teams like that with all the hype and the pomp and circumstance, but I got to give them credit. 6 games into the season, obviously very fortunate that they were able to win week 1 without scoring an offensive touchdown, but 3 straight wins here, Rich, and it's been impressive to see. And now they head into a bye week after a trip over to London, 4-2, and in a very, very crowded division. The Bears are right there with all of them.
Yeah, a lot of thought went into how to build this team around the young quarterback that they were going to take in the draft. I think you go out and get Keenan Allen, you draft Rome Odunze, you've got DJ Moore, you've got a good tight end in Cole Kmet, you go out and get DeAndre Swift, you go out and get a couple of additions to that offensive line. So it's a pretty good situation to step into when you're trying to develop a young quarterback. That's not always the case in the NFL, but I think the Bears deserve a lot of credit for how they've built out this roster, anticipating drafting Caleb Williams.
And then you flip it to the other side. The Jacksonville Jaguars are now 1-5. They won a playoff game 2 years ago. They beat the Chargers in a classic game. They go to Kansas City. They're right there with the Chiefs. Last year they underachieved. They kind of fall apart after an 8-3 start. They finished 9-8, and now starting this year 1-5. I can't imagine they'll fire Doug Peterson while they're still in London. They play the New England Patriots next week in London, but you got to imagine that the heat on the seat of Doug Peterson has just intensified.
Yeah, they don't play complimentary football. I mean, when you look at where they're at offensively, they struggle on third down. They struggle situationally. The quarterback has had difficult times completing a forward pass. They turn the football over. And I think defensively, they've got their issues there. It's hard to get big plays defensively, like the sacks and the takeaways, when you're constantly playing from behind. And that's kind of been the MO under Doug Peterson for a long time. I just get the sense, Tim, the changes are coming down there in Jacksonville.
35-16, the final score. Chicago wins and covers. They close as a dog. Total was 44.5. That sails over the total. All right, another game in the 1 o'clock Eastern window. Off a bye, the Philadelphia Eagles are an 8.5-point favorite. You can find a 9 out there. You can find an 8 out there, depending on how you want to look at betting this game. 42 is the total here, Rich. This is a game that you like the favorite in Philadelphia coming off the bye against Cleveland.
Yeah, I think they're well rested. I think they've healed up. I think get A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith back. I think Lane Johnson, getting him back at the right tackle position, not only helps him in the running game, but certainly in protection as it relates to Jalen Hurts. And Saquon Barkley has been a significant upgrade at the running back position, leads the NFL in scrimmage yards, second in rushing yards. Jalen Hurts must play better, though. That's the key for Philadelphia if they're going to really make a move here in the NFC East. 27 giveaways since the start of last season. That's the most. He's given the ball away in 9 straight games, and a lot of them have shown up in the red zone. We talk about, the 3 things you can't do in the red zone: have penalties, turnovers, and sacks. And that's been a problem for the Philadelphia Eagles. Cleveland, I mean, they've got the worst offensive line grade by Pro Football Focus. They've allowed the most sacks, 26. They rank bottom 3 in total yards, passing yards, scoring offense. They can't convert a third down. They're at 18%. Deshaun Watson's holding them back. I don't know if Kevin Stefanski can make the change, whether that has to be approved by the owner, Jimmy Haslam. Jameis Winston sitting there waiting to get on the field. Maybe we see Jameis Winston today in Philadelphia.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. Deshaun Watson, absolutely terrible last week. I mean, that's the funny thing, too, about the performance last week. And, people might be thinking that Washington's got a good defense. I'd be like, I think it's more so the offensive production from that Cleveland offense.
Yeah, it is. And I just think that, you look at where they're at. It's hard to make in-season adjustments when it comes to that quarterback position. I mean, it's a hard spot to be in. You've committed $240 million to him. But a lot of people are watching, not just in the locker room, but around Cleveland and certainly around the NFL in terms of what will the Browns do moving forward if Deshaun Watson goes out and plays poorly again today against the Eagles.
Yeah, once again, 8.5 point spread is where we sit for that one. One of a handful of games getting going at the top of the hour. 6 games in that 1 o'clock Eastern window. All right, Rich, let's run through your best bets, including this game that we were talking about, Cleveland and Philadelphia. So we'll run through your 5 plays that you're looking at for today.
Yeah, I like the Eagles. I think they're fresh and well rested. Look, I don't like rookie quarterbacks making their first ever start. Never a good thing. I know what that experience is like. It didn't end well for me. I don't think it ends well for Drake May today. And that offense, Tim, is awful. They're dead last in passing. They're averaging 119 passing yards a game. We talked about the issues they have with their offensive line, the wide receiver position. They rank last in receptions and yards per game. Not a lot of great targets to throw to if you're Drake May. So I really like the Houston Texans. They get back their thumper Joe Mixon. That's a good thing. And then I look at the Buccaneers going up against the Saints. Spencer Rattler's a small quarterback. He doesn't have experience. Todd Bowles is going to get after him. He's going to bring some pressures. He's going to bring some things that Spencer Rattler hasn't seen or prepared for. And Baker Mayfield's really playing well on the other side of the ball. So I like the Buccaneers on the road as well. Let me just talk about 2 prop bets. Drake May, I'm going to take the under. Not a good situation for the young quarterback. We talked about him making his first NFL start, dead last in scoring. The offensive line issues, the wide receiver position is a problem. Their leading receiver is the tight end, Hunter Henry. That's never a good thing when you start breaking down offensive football. Spencer Rattler, I'm going to go with the over. I don't think this is a great situation for him either, but keep in mind the Bucs pass defense just got torched for over 500 yards by Cousins and the Falcons. The Saints have only surrendered 5 sacks, and he's got some weapons. I mentioned Olave, Shaheed, Kamara. I think they fall behind, and that gives Spencer Rattler some more opportunities. I like the over number for Spencer Rattler.
All right, I'll run through my card for today. So the top 5 plays that we'll show you are on my Circa Millions card, which is off to an 0-1 start, so that's always good. But hey, at least we got CLV, closing line value. That's all that matters. So the Jaguars +2, that's a loser. They closed as the favorite, but does not come home. Obviously, 35-16 the final there. I'll be honest, Rich, not thrilled about this next play. Titans laying 2.5. I know the Colts are dealing with injuries. However, I think Joe Flacco, as you've alluded to, makes this team, at least offensively, kind of go a little bit more. Michael Pittman Jr. is also a go. Josh Downs is a go. No Jonathan Taylor. Titans are coming off a bye, but I don't know. I keep going back to the well and the Titans. They keep letting me down. Don't love that play as much as maybe I did when I hit submit on the Circa app yesterday. Panthers +6. Hold your nose special. Falcons got to prove it to him, man. Beat a team by margin, especially a division spot there. Bengals in a desperate spot, I think, laying 3.5 against the Giants. And then we're going on the Jets +2.5 after Robert Saleh got fired. Additional bets for me, Ravens -6.5. Like to see that the market just went to 7 on this game. We were talking about this one, Rich, a little bit, where Michael Lombardi joked, sometimes if it's too good to be true, it truly is. And this isn't a knock on the Commanders. It's just I think people are maybe jumping a little bit too much in on Washington, so that's why I rolled with the Ravens at -6.5. More under money, by the way, hitting that game. And then I do think Jaden Daniels will go under his rushing prop, but I like his over passing prop. I think he's going to be forced to throw a bunch in that game. All right, the big injury news, Rich, of today is that Joe Flacco will start again at quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts, and I just alluded to it. I don't really love that play as much as I did when I submitted it because I was curious if Anthony Richardson, if he did play, would he be 100% healthy? Would he be a little bit rusty? But it is going to be Joe Flacco, no Jonathan Taylor, but Michael Pittman and Josh Downs are a go for the Indianapolis Colts. What do you make of Colts and Titans starting at the top of the hour?
Trust me when I say that Brian Callahan, the coaching staff in Tennessee, is disappointed to see Flacco in there, not Anthony Richardson. I can assure you that. You've got a young quarterback that has really struggled. You've got a veteran quarterback that's come in and played really well here the last couple of weeks. Missing Jonathan Taylor is significant. Getting Pittman back and playing today is important. But they're last in time of possession. They're dead last in total defense. They get up a lot of yards, and they're bottom 5 in both rushing and passing yards allowed. So here's the issue with the Tennessee Titans, Tim, and you know this. Their quarterback situation is precarious as well, as Will Levis has really struggled. His 9 turnovers are the most, and his passing numbers aren't very good. I really believe he's on a short leash. You know, when he went down against Miami and they brought in Mason Rudolph, they were reluctant to go back to Will Levis, even though I think he was healthy enough to get back in that game. If he struggles early in this one, we could see Mason Rudolph.
Hey, looking for some action? Our friends at First Bet have you covered. Sign up today to unlock exclusive promotions, plus watch and wager on hundreds of exciting horse races every day from across the country and around the world. Sign up at firstbet.com. That's the number one, STBet.com. Use the promo code VSiN200 to claim a 20% rebate for your first 60 days, up to $200. Once again, firstbet.com. All right, we're going to run the board, go through every game that will kick off today. That's Rich Gannon. I'm Tim Murray. We put a bow on the VSiN Pro Football Tailgate Show next.
In the heart of downtown Las Vegas, a sports oasis awaits. Stadium Swim, the ultimate outdoor amphitheater, built for the ultimate sports fan, with a colossal screen that brings the game closer than ever. Reserve a daybed, private cabana, or lounge in the center of it all. 6 pools to dive into as the game heats up. And the best part, there's never an off-season. Open 365 days a year. Stadium Swim, it's always spectator season.
Sean Green and Ryan Kramer bring an energetic approach to sports betting to keep you entertained while sweating your bets on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN.
There is something to the idea of the smart teams might be zagging. You see all the best offenses in the National Football League have a fullback.
If you like defense, if you like football, how can you not be okay with 2 high safeties?
Join Sean and Ryan every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern on the Sports Gambling Podcast Live at VSiN, right here on the Sports Betting Network.
watching VSiN's Pro Football Tailgate Show right here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
We are 15 minutes away from 6 1 o'clock Eastern games. One final already in the books as the Chicago Bears, a winner over in London, 35-16. Over comes home in that game. Caleb Williams, 4 touchdown passes. Cole Kmet, 2 touchdown receptions. Keenan Allen, 2 touchdown receptions as well. That's Rich Gannon, 2002 NFL MVP. I'm Tim Murray, and like we like to do to close out every VSiN Pro Football Tailgate show, let's run a little hurry-up offense. I'm sure something that Rich knows a thing or two about. No huddle. We're just out there on our own making plays, Rich. And we'll start with Arizona and Green Bay. The Arizona Cardinals head to Lambeau Field this afternoon. 5.5-point underdogs, total of 47. Good news on the injury front for the Green Bay Packers. Corner Jair Alexander, wide receiver Christian Watson, both active today for the Packers.
Yeah, and I believe Matt LaFleur is not only one of the best head coaches in the league, but he's also one of the best play callers. And I think he's going to change up this game plan a little bit more to lean on the running game against this Arizona defense that has struggled to stop the run. The 28th in run defense. I think Jordan Love has been a bit inconsistent, and I think you'll see a lot of this Packer offense trying to run the football with Josh Jacobs. I think Murray will make this game competitive, but I like the Packers defense at Lambeau.
How about this over at VSiN.com? If you're a VSiN Pro subscriber, you get access to our betting splits from DraftKings Sportsbook. 50-50 on tickets right now on this game. They are completely split. Now, the money skews a little bit more towards the Green Bay Packers, 68% of the money, but 50-50 are folks on this game on the spread at 5.5. Houston and New England, Rich. Drake May making his first start as a member of the New England Patriots, the 3rd overall pick. You look at this point spread right now, the Houston Texans are now only a 6.5-point favorite. We're a 7-point favorite most of the week, so the number has come down just a tick, total 38.5.
Yeah, the Patriots need to do something with their offense, so they turn to their first-round pick, Drake May. Their offense definitely needs a spark as they're dead last in scoring and passing. I think for the Texans, all 4 of their wins have come by 6 points or less. I think I feel really good about Houston on the road, especially with Joe Mixon back in the lineup for the Texans.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Joe Mixon is back. You see a couple of our bets, Matt Humans and Wes Reynolds, both taking the candy with the New England Patriots. That candy, that full 7, not out there anymore. 6.5 is out there. Over at VSiN.com, our betting split, 79% of the action on the Houston Texans in this one. This is, in my opinion, the game of the day, Rich, up at M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore, Maryland. The Ravens playing host to the Washington Commanders, and money has come in on Baltimore, 6.5 out to 7. It's even a juice 7. And interesting to note, some under money as well. Derek Stevens mentioned that in earlier on in this hour. Washington at Baltimore, Rich.
Yeah, this is going to be a great one. Like 2 of the hottest teams in the league right now, and 2 former Heisman Trophy winners going toe-to-toe. I think you need to get your popcorn ready for this one, Tim. This is going to be a good one. There'll be plenty of offense, but I think Baltimore has the better defense. I think that's where you're starting to see a little bit more of the action on Baltimore. I like the Ravens at home.
Yeah, I do too. I laid the 6.5 with the Ravens, so we will see if the Ravens, this could be a good in-game betting contest where the Ravens, at least if you look at the Cowboys game, got off to a hot start, then kind of took the foot off the gas. So we'll see how this game plays out. 50.5, though, is the total in that one. A best bet for you, let's head to New Orleans. Tampa Bay at the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr is out. This was the 2.5-point spread in the look-ahead. Now 3.5 in favor of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So a switch of 6 points here. Spencer Rattler starts for the Saints.
Yeah, I still can't get that thought out of my mind looking at what happened to the Bucs defense in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago and what Kirk Cousins did to them, throwing for 509 yards. The good news is that they get the rookie Spencer Rattler making his first NFL start. Never an easy thing to do for a young quarterback. I mentioned Timmy's a smaller quarterback with not a lot of experience, obviously, even playing in the preseason game. So I like Todd Bowles' defense. I think they get after the young quarterback. I think turnovers are the difference in this one. I like the Bucs on the road.
All right, another game that you do like, Philadelphia hosting the Cleveland Browns. Eagles coming off a bye against the Browns, who have looked like an absolute disaster pretty much every which way you turn, at least from an offensive standpoint. Spread at 8.5, total 42 between Cleveland and the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah, it shouldn't be close, but it may be because of the Eagles. I just don't trust their defense right now, but they're getting 3 starters back on offense, including their top 2 receivers, A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The Browns are an absolute mess on offense right now. I can't even watch the tape. It's so ugly, Tim. And they can't protect their quarterback. Give me Philly at home.
I tell you what, a lot of teasers are going to start or end with the Philadelphia Eagles, 8.5, going down to 2.5. I imagine a lot of folks will have that thought process heading into that game. All right, let's go to the 4 o'clock Eastern window, and the biggest game in the eyes of Brent Musburger, who joined us in the second hour of the program, Detroit at Dallas. Detroit, a 3.5-point favorite. We were talking to Derek Stevens earlier this hour. They really didn't want to get to 3.5. Well, they did. They're now at 3.5. Detroit money continues to come into the market.
That's a Derek Stevens special. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I like the Lions. They're one of the more physical teams in the league, especially when it comes to their offensive line play and their running game. The Cowboys are so beat up defensively without a number of key starters. I believe Detroit will wear them down over the course of a 60-minute game. I really like the Lions on the road.
All right, how about the Chargers getting a little healthier? They should have both their tackles back. Chargers are at Denver today. They're a 3-point favorite on the road against the Broncos.
Yeah, there's something to be said about having a bye week and getting healthy, especially on the offensive side of the ball. You look at last time they played without both offensive tackles, their best pass rusher, and a Pro Bowl safety in Derwin James. So I like the fact that the Chargers are getting healthy. I like this young quarterback, Bo Nix. The Broncos have won 3 straight, but today they face the league's #1 scoring defense. The Chargers giving up 12.5 points a game. Stingy on defense. I like the road team. Give me the Chargers.
Lowest total on the board, Chargers and Broncos at 35.5. Circa actually at 36. Not a lot of points expected here in Las Vegas today. Total 36.5. Couple of 3.5s out there in favor of the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll call it a consensus 3 juiced -120. Las Vegas turning to Aiden O'Connell, and as you've hit on, Rich, throughout the show, he's not going to have a whole lot of weapons to throw to.
No, I like Aiden O'Connell, Tim, but I think this is not a great opportunity for him. No Devontae Adams, no Jacoby Myers. They can't run the football right now, and they're without their best interior defensive lineman, Christian Wilkins. So that puts, I think, more of the emphasis on Max, who's not 100% healthy himself. So not a great situation when you look at the fact that, they're basically playing with a bunch of undrafted wide receivers, and that's going up against that Pittsburgh defense. Not a good thing. I like Aiden O'Connell, but this is a lot to ask on a short week.
And the final game in that 4 o'clock window, Rich, Atlanta at the Carolina Panthers. Atlanta coming off that mini bye. They played on Thursday night, and Kirk Cousins went off as he threw for over 500 yards in an overtime victory over the New Orleans Saints. Carolina hasn't been pretty. The Red Rifle's still rolling there. I took 6 with Carolina in a division spot. Hold my nose and give me the Panthers.
Well, we talk about how difficult it is to go on the road and win, especially in the division. But you mentioned, Tim, Kirk Cousins coming off of a monster performance in that win over the Bucs, set career highs in attempts, completions, and yards. Just a solid performance. And he's going up against a Carolina defense that hasn't stopped anybody this season. I like the Falcons in a close one. That's been the story. That's been the MO for the Falcons all season.
All right, let's update the folks on where we are from an active standpoint. Joe Mixon, he will be playing today for the Houston Texans. Michael Pittman and Josh Downs a go for the Colts, but not a go. Anthony Richardson, he will be the emergency number 3 quarterback. Joe Flacco gets the nod. For the Packers, Christian Watson and Jair Alexander are cleared to go. Marlon Humphrey and Ronnie Stanley good to go for the Baltimore Ravens. Antoine Winfield and Kalijah Kancey, they are good to go for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rich, always great, man. Game that you are going to learn the most from today is what?
I think that I'm looking forward to the Washington-Baltimore game, just as you are, Tim. But I think that Dallas-Detroit, I think I know who Detroit is. I want to find out more about Dallas today. Can they stop the run, and can they go toe for toe with Jared Goff and this Lions offense? Curious to see what the Cowboys do at home in the late window.
Yeah, that'll be a whole lot of fun. There's no doubt about it. Thanks to everyone who's joined the show today. Michael Lombardi, John Hansen, Brent Musburger, and Derek Stevens. Thanks to Rich Gannon, Bill Wagner, our producer, everyone behind the scenes. Coming up next, Live Bet Sunday for the next 6 hours, keeping you updated on all of the action going on across the NFL today. Then at 7 o'clock, it's Ready, Set, Bet with Matt Brown and Mike Somich, and Joe Serralo will have you covered late night on Cashing Out. For the 2002 NFL MVP, Rich Gannon, I'm Tim Murray. Let's have ourselves a great day watching and betting on football.
The only thing better than football is the excitement of all the